Hey guys, this is Marcus LeVake, and I'm sitting in with Andy Powers. I actually just robbed him from his workshop where he was busy on even new developments. I just figured we better get these under our belt first, like slow the progress down for just a second.
Well, the story goes like the best guitar you make is going to be the next one you make.
That's what they say.
Because as soon as you do something, well, you know what it does, and that's amazing. You get to enjoy it, but what's next?
Right.
Because I've learned that the process of making is what leads to the process of inventing. So if you're in the process building this thing, that's what makes you drive up against all the little things that could change, or you become aware of them once you run into them. And that's what sparks further creativity. So the more you work on something, the more ideas you come up with.
Well said. I was watching, speaking of working on him, I was watching him in the shop, in the factory, do this cut. I'm doing a time lapse of it. I've got video of the sander making the piece, and but I was curious. So the GS is my favorite shape. That was actually my first Taylor guitar. And now with this new V class and the sound hole, I think of all the Taylors, this palette, right? You've got this palette of which to work when you're playing songs. Mm-hmm. And kind of like a good, a wine tasting, you'd be told what notes to look for. When you play this shape with this V class, different from the other GS, what are you hearing and what does this really highlight?
This one's very different. One of the interesting factors with the V class system, we call it, or the idea in general, it allows the guitars to become less alike. So they are becoming increasingly diverse in the type of sound that you're going to get out of it. Right? So that's, in some ways, it's less easy to pinpoint exactly what it sounds like because they're just not alike anymore. A lot of times you'd hear two different guitars and you go, oh, well, that one's a this and that one's a that. Can you hear it? They sound like guitars. It's like, yeah, I guess now that maybe you pointed out, but it's kind of similar. They sound like an acoustic guitar, And so when we were adapting the V-class architecture into different body sizes. That's kind of what the project is. Okay, the task at hand, this is a cool thing. How does it best work in the context of this shape or that shape? So when I look at the different body sizes that we commonly are known for making, take a grand auditorium. Okay, start with that one like we did. That's the quintessential Taylor guitar. It's like the quintessential modern acoustic guitar sound. Then we built the Grand Pacific that was a distinctly different flavor. I don't really know how to describe sounds very well, but it's like a more mature sound. It has a pretty strong, a little drier, a real supportive but authoritative kind of voice that has a certain level of experience or maturity in the way it presents a note. But if you took so those are neat. If you took a ruler or a tape measure or something and stretched across the lower bout, you measure like the lower bout and the length of the body, you realize they're actually pretty similar. The set of curves is vastly different that connect all those dots. And because of that, you have a totally different type of air chamber that you're working with. Okay, so I came to the Grand Symphony shape and went, what does this one naturally want to do? Because again, if you measure across the lower bout, the length of the body, they're a little different, but not like leaps and bounds different. They're not radically different. So what does make them unique from each other is the shape. It's the curves that connect all those points. This particular body shape houses a lot of air. There's a lot of air mass inside that chamber. So the lower bout is essentially a little larger and rounder for the same dimension. And so that gives us a unique opportunity to turn this into a more, what I consider an orchestral sound. It's a more lyrical kind of sound, almost symphonic like its namesake would imply. You're using that air mass to deliver a different type of note experience. So if this was, the Grand Auditorium was like the real modern acoustic guitar sound, the Grand Pacific is like a more mature sound. This one is more like an orchestral, almost boutique kind of listening experience sort of sound. It's not that it's a modern sound so much as it is a super lyrical kind of a voice. So we used to think of the Grand Symphony as like the guitar for the strummer. It's like the big, bold sounding guitar where you really lay into it and you get a lot out of it. It's not really that guitar. Sure, you can strum big chords on it and it'll sound great. But where it really excels now is with this almost poetic lyricism in its voice.
So from something that you've said earlier, got all of this potential of air, right?
Yep.
So you're basically, this is like a speaker port almost helping get that air out and shaped differently. Am I correct in saying just like a speaker cabinet where the hole is very important relationally, size-wise?
Yeah, a guitar, it's known as from scientific words, it's a coupled resonator is what this thing is functioning as. You can think of it as a ported enclosure. Okay, so the air mass that's inside this body has a specific resonant frequency, and that's what part it will want to exaggerate or contribute into this kind of mix of sounds. And what we're doing is we're taking that sound propagation and dispersing it in a different way. So the way that this guitar will set the air surrounding the guitar in motion is significantly different.
Okay. Can you play something on it?
Yeah.
That would highlight your orchestral explanation. The complexity, from where I'm sitting, the complexity of the sound coming off the instrument, there's so many more dimensions than you're used to hearing.
Yeah, it's like this immersive kind of experience where you play the note, even if you play it like you play it really delicately, and you hear this thing kind of bloom as it rings. It has a really unique response. That's why I don't know that I could describe it in a way other than saying, well, it's very lyrical. So kind of in a unique way, this guitar, we're building it around a shorter scale. So it's rather than the traditional longer 25.5-inch scale that we've built around for Grand Symphony, we're going with a shorter 24 7/8 scale and setting them up with light gauge strings, because a larger string and the longer scale in this case don't actually make this like call it a better sounding or a louder sounding guitar. It's actually kind of working against you a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, it's a totally different type of response out of this guitar.
And I have to ask for my own sake, is cedar top is coming, I would say, in the future?
Maybe, not now.
But yeah, we're still waiting for ours, the first one. So, but mine's a cedar top, and the chunk you get when you're palm muting and hitting it, I've just always loved of the GS. That I first fell in love with, and this does it as well. It's just that everything else is a lot more present
it's
as
kind
well.
of like cooking, where you have this recipe, and in certain contexts, you go, man, I love this ingredient. Let's say we all love the taste of garlic, but you put that into some context, you go, yeah, I don't like it anymore. It would be like, man, I love the smell and the aroma, the flavor of sauteing garlic in a pan, but you put that on like mint chip ice cream, not really a great thing, you know?
Yeah.
So in some context, putting too many things, too many ingredients together that aren't taking into account the whole instrument, it doesn't actually make the guitar better. Sometimes it can work against you. Like in this case, because this guitar is so warm and lyrical, there is a day coming, I'm sure I'll build a cedar version of it, but I'm going to make some internal modifications to accommodate that. That would give me a different result entirely than this Lutz spruce top.
Sure.
They have a different sort of response in that overtone structure.
Yeah, with the warmth just coming off of it right now, I would almost think it would get close to muddy.
Yeah, almost too much.
Almost too much.
Yeah, you end up with a harmonic structure that starts to conflict with itself and do more harm than good.
We've been in love for the last year or two with all the 700s that have come in. The Lutz top, just it's amazing. And so to see that in this and to hear how it works, it's a great combination.
That's become one of my very favorite spruces. It's such an interesting thing because there's some variability the way that word works, because it's a hybrid spruce, right? Mm-hmm. It's a hybrid between Sitka spruce and white. Some people call it alpine, but it's white spruce. Sometimes it's a three-way hybrid with Engelmann in that mix as well, but it has what folks call hybridization vigor. So when you have these two trees that mix and create a Lutz spruce tree, it's not necessarily a 50-50 mix. It varies based on the rainfall habits and the elevation habits. So if you have one of those Lutz trees that grew closer to the coast, lower elevation, higher rainfall, it behaves more like Sitka. And if it was higher up in the mountains, it behaves more like white spruce, which is a pretty interesting thing because those trees can actually accommodate some level of changes in their environment. So we look at that as a really healthy long-term outlook because if, let's say you have a changing rainfall pattern, well, those trees will probably handle it better than most would. It just so happens the stuff's amazing to make guitars out of. So I'm pretty thrilled with it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So are there any other crazy things you want to talk about? Because, in my position, half the time I don't even know what to ask except for after I've played it.
The thing with these guitars, remember that we make them so that people can play songs with them. Okay, so we could talk for days about the specifics of this back bracing, the technical aspects of the twin sound port idea, which is one primary hole, one secondary aperture. There's comfort features built in, the curved wing bridge, the radiused body edges, the rolled over frame, like all this kind of stuff, the silent satin finish. But the point is, we want to make a guitar that's enjoyable to play. We want a person to feel comfortable when they pick the guitar up, when they go to play it. We want the sound to be a wonderful experience, the intonation, the playability, all those things that contribute to the music-making experience. That's what we want to spend our time focusing on. So, lots of people have different questions that they want to know about. And we're happy to answer them as much as we're able. But the point being, this is about playing songs. It's about playing music and enjoying what you're going to play.
Back when the GS came out, I think it was 06. Wasn't it 06, perhaps? I think if I remember right, the marketing piece on that was, this is an acoustic player's acoustic.
Yeah.
There was only 4 wood combinations, and there was no pickup available at that time because I bought one of those first ones, and remember liking that concept of this whole this is an acoustic player's acoustic.
Yeah.
If you want to make it sound good, grab a microphone.
Yeah, it was a little earlier than 2006, but that was the idea originally. Is that's an acoustic guitar player's guitar, and the ironic thing is we started making that. First thing people ask are, "Man, I love that. Could you make it with a cutaway and put a pickup in it?"